Well, it was quite a big week for lots of reasons, but on Friday, Leo, this Tyro float, this tech float, I mean, it went through the roof, 20% up on listing.
And had some big investors as well in Mike Cannon-Brookes and the Atlantis and boys. So, it's some good news for the IPO market in Australia that's been, well, struggling after a few big-name failures.
Exactly, and I thought with David Thodey coming on board, very timely as chair, he was saying just this, that, you know, tech IPOs, it's good for Australia, and it was all about their growth story as well. So, look, maybe we will get a Christmas rally, Santa rally, but who knows? All right, well, back in August, Caltex boss Julian Segal announced his retirement, and the board set about searching for a new boss. Then, out of the blue in October, Canadian giant Couche-Tard lobbed in a cheeky takeover bid for Caltex, owner of the Lytton refinery, a big fuels and infrastructure business, and all those Caltex retail convenience outlets across the country. Well, the board said no, but left the door open for Couche-Tard to up their bid with a little more access to Caltex's numbers. Caltex is still waiting to hear, but in the meantime, Julian Segal is still in the hot seat and pushing to unlock capital for shareholders. I spoke with him on his Investor Day at one of his brand new Metro stores. Julian Segal, very good to talk to you down at one of your new Metros.
I'm very proud to welcome you to our Metro.
Now, take me back to October when your chairman had this takeover bid from Couche-Tard lobbed, as he puts it, onto his desk. What was your reaction when you got the phone call from him?
Well, certainly it's something I didn't expect. However, Caltex is a very good business. It's got a lot of value. And to my mind, the positive aspect of that, somebody that really sees the value in our business.
Well, actually, yeah, the share price has obviously jumped towards it, but there's been a lot of commentary around the fact that Couche-Tard were perhaps a little bit opportunistic and picking a trough in the Caltex share price.
Well, they did. Couche-Tard is a very good business. They are good business people, and so I'm not surprised. They pounced on the opportunity. They did put the offer in at a time of softness in earnings, as a result partly of the Australian economy being soft. So they've obviously chosen their time.
So you would say that any investor looking at a takeover premium should really look back at, November the 25th. Now, why is that?
Well, on November the 25th, we put out an announcement of the IPO of our retail assets. The market reacted very positively to that, obviously because that unlocks a lot of franking credits that we can return back to our shareholders. The share price went up on the day by 7%. And in my view, if we didn't put an announcement on the Couche-Tard offer on Tuesday, the following day, the share would have gone up even higher. So you can look at $29.79, the closing price on Monday, the 25th, as an undisturbed price.
So there's a lot of talk, obviously, about franking credits, that you do hold a lot of franking credits, and these obviously belong to investors. Why is there such a difference between yourselves and Couche-Tard in terms of the value of them?
Yeah, good question, Tiki. And it's very simple. The difference between the value they put on franking credits of 361 compared to us at 166 is the tax rate. They made an assumption that people will pay zero tax. That's not realistic. Very few of our shareholders pay 0% tax. We made a much more reasonable assumption that the tax rate is 16%.
Super funds.
Super fund, 15% tax rate. And that brings you to about 166, a much more realistic value.
You mentioned the IPO there. You had plans for the IPO way before the Couche-Tard bid. This was in response to investors asking you to think about how to unlock value.
Indeed, we've been thinking about it for a long time, but a big difference was Matt Halliday, our new CFO, coming on board. He joined us in April, and he immediately put his mind to how we can unlock value. The IPO, the way that we announced it, is a very elegant solution, an effective solution to unlocking the franking credits, as well as the announcement you made on the 25 tranche of the higher and better use sites that will bring us $136 million. That's tranche number one, and tranche number two to follow in January.
So tell me a little bit about your retail portfolio that you've got. Here we're in this new Metro. You've had the challenges with taking back all the franchises, with the Woolworths deal being on and off and on again. What are you doing with your retail portfolio?
So you're right. We had 3 years that a lot has happened. rolling out 60 fooderies, negotiating with franchisees to take back the operation of the sites, negotiating with Woolies, and running the business at the same time. But you can see this is a dream come true. I think the fact that Woolworths, the biggest retailer in the land, is supporting our idea, it's really great comfort to me and to the company. The retail network segmentation I mentioned to you defined about 500 sites as core to the company. This is an example of such a core site. 250 of these sites are freehold, and those are the sites that we are going to put into a REIT that 49% of which are going to be in public hands.
So you're talking about quite a serious uplift in growth within retail.
Absolutely. So today at Investor Day, it was my pleasure to announce that we are seeing an $85 million uplift from now until 2024. This is an uplift from the shop only. And
so not from the fuel, because that's quite ambitious. What makes you think you can drive that much value?
Well, have a look at this shop, have a look at the business of this site. We know that typically in a Caltex traditional site, 80% of the profit comes from fuel, 20% from the shop. In comparable sites overseas, the ratio is just the other way around. 80% of the profit comes from the shop, 20% from the fuel. And so that's not because they are selling less fuel, but they are selling much more shop. I'm confident we can achieve that as well. That's the uplift.
On your fuels and infrastructure side, you had a few announcements as well in terms of organic growth.
Yeah, indeed. So on the back of our success running Ampol in Singapore, we announced that we are opening an office in Houston. That's going to enable us to be on the spot when things are happening in a different geography. That's a significant advantage, as we've proven ourselves that being in Singapore on the ground is extremely advantageous. And we also announced that we'll be engaging in some international storage, which will give us additional flexibility to make better deals in our fuel procurement and shipping and trading.
And more broadly in fuels and infrastructure, you can see growth coming internationally, can you?
Absolutely. So let me be very clear, there's still growth in Australia. I think people are going too fast about the end of liquid fuels. That's not going to happen that soon. The growth is slowing down, but there's still growth in Australia. And of course, there's significant growth in the region. So if you look, for example, at the Philippines, one of the fastest growing economies in the region, significant growth opportunity for us. And in New Zealand, the Gulf business that we acquired a couple of years ago is doing extremely well, growing fast. And in fact, I'm really happy to say that we opened 2 sites in the South Island for the first time.
Questions today around the big takeover proposal and the fact that the board considered it very deeply, refused, but then decided to perhaps open the kimono to Couche-Tard a little bit. Now, why would you do that? As one of the analysts suggested, it's going to take a lot of management time. Why isn't it an all or nothing thing?
Yeah, good question, Tiki. I think the answer is very simple. Our job is to deliver the highest possible value to shareholders. I fundamentally, and the board backs me on that, I fundamentally believe that we can deliver significant value. We talked a bit earlier about unlocking value, but truly the big task ahead of us is to add value in the future. And I'm very confident, based on what you've seen today in the Investor Day, that we can deliver future value. The point, however, is we need to make sure that we don't miss any opportunity to deliver value to the shareholder in the shortest possible time. And therefore, given that Couche-Tard is a reputable company, we respect them very much, I think it's fair to give them the opportunity to put a better price on the table that might be compelling, enabling us to give better return to the shareholders. I think it's only fair to our shareholders.
In all of this, you're retiring. I mean, has that... Yeah, I know.
No, it's actually very gratifying for me to see where we are. I think that's been a dream for me. It's been realized. I certainly don't have time to think about my retirement at the moment.
No, but I was going to say, are you now thinking, well, we'll either have to get this deal done or we'll have to get, the property IPO done, or what are you thinking about?
We are thinking very clearly about one thing. We're running the business as usual. We're not stopping with any initiative. You've seen us announcing initiative over the last while. There's significant initiative, the IPO, the HBUs, the hybrid announcement that
of the debt, yes.
Of the debt. So we are running the business as usual. And it's really important because we need the people in the business. 99.9% of the people are focusing on the business. I'm focusing on running the business. and I'm running it with a strong hand as usual.
So if the bid doesn't go through, there is no takeover, when would you see yourself handing over to your successor?
So that's the job of the board and the chairman. They're actually very diligent. They've been going through a very thorough process. I know there's a short list of extremely well-positioned candidates, including an internal candidate, Louise Warner. So I think in the normal course of events, probably over the next 6 months, I should be handing over the reins.
Julian Segal, very exciting time going forward. I wish you all the best with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.